Before 1973, abortion was not legal in most of the United States. When it was legal, the reason had to be a complication in the woman's health or rape or incest. Women would often travel long distances to states with fewer restrictions. The magazine The Pacific Standard wrote that between the 1950s and 60s, around 200,000 to 1.2 million dangerous illegal abortions were performed every year. Many laws had strict restrictions. As mentioned by the Guttmacher Institute, in the early 1960s, only Pennsylvania prohibited all abortions, but 44 other states only allowed abortion when the woman's life would be endangered if she carried the pregnancy to term. In 1967, Colorado had passed a law allowing women to have an abortion up to 16 weeks of pregnancy if there was an endangerment for her or the fetus's mental or physical health, or in the case of rape or incest. Norma McCorvey was born in Simmsport, Louisiana on September 22, 1947. She later moved to Texas. In 1947, Norma McCorvey became pregnant with her third unwanted and unexpected child. She had two previous children a few years before. With her first child, Melissa, she was young and impregnated by her husband, Elwood McCorvey. She wanted an abortion and was not granted one. When she gave birth to her first child, she begged her mother to take the baby. Her mother, Mary Sandifer Nelson, agreed and took in the baby. The children from her second and third pregnancies went into the foster system. Henry Wade was a district attorney of Dallas and a lawyer. In the early 1960s, Wade had been a part of the prosecution of Jack Ruby. Ruby shot the man who assassinated John F. Kennedy. The county Wade worked in had a legalized abortion. In 1970, when McCorvey wanted an abortion, she asked Henry Wade to allow her to have an abortion in the county. He wouldn't allow it, and McCorvey later sued him for that purpose. In early 1970, a lawyer named Linda Coffey sought out to find a woman willing to become a plaintiff for her case. Coffey wanted to find a woman with an unwanted pregnancy to be her plaintiff to help change the Texas abortion laws. She later got a call from an old colleague referring her to Norma McCorvey, who was unhappy and was going through her third unwanted pregnancy. McCorvey agreed to help Coffey with her case. In the case, she went under the legal alias Jane Roe. Coffey later reconnected with an old friend, Sarah Weddington, who was also a lawyer. She joined McCorvey and Coffey on the case. Coffey filed the case to the district court and later appealed to the Supreme Court. The court decided to hear what she had to say. This is when Weddington took the spotlight. Coffey helped ground the case and file it. Weddington argued in court and fought for it while Coffey was a background character. On January 22, 1973, with Chief Justice Harry Blackham delivering the court's opinion, the Supreme Court decided with a 7-2 vote to allow abortion with certain restrictions based on the 3 trimesters of pregnancy. Within the first trimester of pregnancy, the decision is between a doctor and their patient. The state cannot intervene. In the second trimester, the state may intervene if the woman's health is at risk. During the third trimester, the state may intervene at any time and prohibit abortions. As stated in the Roe v. Wade decision, a state law that broadly prohibits abortion without respect to the stage of pregnancy or other interests violates that right. In addition to that, the Supreme Court decided that the option to have an abortion is protected by a right to privacy, under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Within the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment, it states, "Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law." The term privacy is not in the 14th Amendment or the Constitution. However, the Supreme Court has used the branch of the 14th Amendment to pass laws. The court determined that abortion is a private matter and women had the right to make that choice. Although this was a big step forward for pro-choice supporters, it was a major step back for pro-life advocates. Shortly after the case, many states created more restrictive or more accessible abortion laws. 3 years after Roe v. Wade, in 1976, Planned Parenthood of Central Missouri sued the state of Missouri to help enforcement of a law that was passed a year after Roe v. Wade. Planned Parenthood tried to prevent enforcement of needing parental consent if the woman is a minor. They proposed that if a physician were to perform an abortion, they could risk being charged with manslaughter, since they did not preserve life. Planned Parenthood had also wanted to stop the state from depriving the mother and father of paternal rights if the fetus survived the abortion. In 1983, the city of Akron, Ohio, passed an ordinance surrounding abortion. They had wanted to put forth a law enforcing the 24-hour waiting period between signing a consent form and undergoing the procedure. Parents of unmarried minors would have to sign a consent form to the abortion. All remains from an abortion had to be properly disposed of. As Norma McCorvey once said, there were dead babies and baby parts stacked like cordwood. Some of the babies made it into buckets, and others did not. The stench was horrible, plastic bags full of baby parts, little tiny hands and feet visible through jars frozen in blood. There are many cases still being fought today, whether to protect abortion or to restrict it. Abortion laws are ever changing. In 1994, a book was published. It was titled I Am Roe. This book was written by Norma McCorvey and Andy Meisler. This book was McCorvey's way to come out as Jane Roe from the popular case Roe v. Wade. Within this book, McCorvey talks not only about her affiliation with this famous case, but her past relationships. She talks about her relationship with her husband and her long-term relationship with Connie Gonzalez. McCorvey also talks about her experiences working at an abortion clinic. In her second book, Won by Love, written 3 years after I Am Roe, McCorvey talks about her conversion to Christianity and pro-life. Previous to the second book, she had ended her relationship with Connie Gonzalez and now devoted her life to teaching the wrong of abortion. I didn't know during the Roe v. Wade case that the life of a human being was terminated. She attended many pro-life rallies and retold her stories of working in abortion clinics. Currently, Texas has one of the most restrictive abortion laws in the country. When a woman in Texas wants to receive an abortion, she has to have at least 2 visits to a doctor's office, view the sonogram, and if a woman chooses to continue with an abortion, she has to wait 24 hours after viewing the sonogram. After that, a woman has the option to undergo an abortion up to 20 weeks of pregnancy. If the woman is a minor, she would also need parental consent or approval from a judge. Equally important to the right to choose is economic support. Some of this support has come in forms like Title X, which is a federal grant program that was created in 1970 to help fund places like Planned Parenthood that helped make different forms of contraceptives affordable. As said by PRH, services provided include contraceptive counseling and provision, breast and cervical cancer screenings, testing and treatment for sexually transmitted infections, and pregnancy diagnosis and counseling. A federal rule was passed in February 2019 by the Trump administration, which will allow Title X to still perform abortions, however it must be in a separate facility and they cannot recommend abortion to their patients. As said by Stephanie Shryock, president of Emily's List, it effectively dismantles Title X, forces doctors to lie, and forbids them from referring their patients to abortion and prevents women from being able to access Planned Parenthood services. Since this new rule has been passed, Planned Parenthood was forced to leave Title X and their funding, and are currently looking for other forms of funding. There are many different options for unwanted pregnancies, such as contraceptives, abortion, and there are services after an abortion, such as abortion recovery.
So a lot of women, when they have an abortion, they feel immediate relief because their issue or their problem is over with. But later on, sometimes other feelings come up, and they need somebody to talk to. So if they have pro-choice friends, their pro-choice friends might just say, it's legal, it's fine, get over it. So they may not validate the feelings that they might have. The feelings that might be regret, it might be a feeling of loss, sadness. Every woman responds differently. Some women can have an abortion no problem at all and they move on. Others, it's a very serious thing. And then if they have pro-life friends, the pro-life friends will, might not give them the empathy that they need. They might be judgmental of them for having an abortion. Well, here we allowed them to talk about their story, to share their experience,